Hello, and welcome to today's video. Today, I would like to welcome you into Gunslinger 3.0. Gunslinger 3.0 is very unique. It does not play like many of the other hunter classes. It has a unique rotation and gameplay philosophy that Bungie has never tried before. And dare I say, it's OP. Once I teach you the basics here of Gunslinger 3.0, you too want to play Gunslinger 3.0. Alright, let's hop into the rest of the video. Alright, welcome to Hunter 3.0. First up, we're going to cover Gunslinger. Here on Gunslinger, we have 3 different class abilities. First, we have Acrobat's Dodge. This is a brand new class ability with Gunslinger 3.0. This class ability is on a slightly longer cooldown than the other 2 dodges, specifically at 1 minute and 22 seconds base. This can be scaled up to tier 10 mobility. With this tumble, you press your class ability button, and then you become Radiant. Radiant is a 20% damage buff, just like all other natural damage buffs inside of PvE. This is downgraded to 15% inside of PvP. Marksman's Dodge, we also still have, which reloads your guns when you press your dodge button. We also still have Gambler's Dodge, which grants you melee energy when you are near enemies. This is specifically within 15 meters of enemies, and you press your dodge ability. Next up, we have our melees. In Gunslinger 3.0, we have the 3 same melees we had previously with Solar 2.0. Those being Knife Trick. This is a fan of 3 knives. We have Proximity Explosive Knife. This knife is a trap knife that can be thrown against any surface, and when it attacks a target will explode. We have the Weighted Knife, which was slightly changed. When you throw this knife, it's on a longer animation, therefore it does more damage. It's also on a slightly longer cooldown than the other knives. When you throw this knife, instead it causes Scorch to targets and will ignite them. If it kills and you get a precision damage kill with it, it'll refresh your class ability instead of refreshing your dodge, instead of refreshing the knife itself. There is a way to take advantage of this, though in the build I have for you today with this guide, I am not taking advantage of this weighted knife. In the future, I have a way to take advantage of this knife and abuse the crap out of it. We also have the old just throwing knife back. This is incredible because it's just a knife. It's quick, it does lots of damage, and when you get a precision hit with this knife, you are granted Radiance. It's a shorter duration than your normal Radiance, but you are granted Radiance when you get a precision hit with this knife. Alright, next up is our grenades. In Solar 3.0, we have 8 grenades. This is a lot of them. We have a Thermite Grenade, which sends out a burning line of fire, dealing a damage of scorching targets in its path. When it causes scorch to the targets it damages. We also have Trip Mines, an explosive grenade that sticks to surfaces and detonates when targets pass through it. It's laser trigger, dealing damage and moderately scorching them. We also have Incendiary Grenades, a grenade that explodes with a fiery blast and heavily scorches nearby targets. Each one of these grenades applies a different amount of stacks of scorch when this grenade deals damage to them. We also have Solar Grenades, a grenade that creates a flare of solar light that continuously damages and scorches targets trapped inside. We have Swarm Grenades, a grenade that detonates on impact, releasing multiple drones that seek nearby targets. Each drone slightly scorches affected targets. We have Fusion Grenade, an exploding grenade that attaches to targets, damaging and moderately scorching them on detonation. We have Firebolt Grenades, a grenade that unleashes bolts of damaging solar light at nearby targets and slightly scorches them. This is also the fastest cooldown grenade in the game outside of dust fields. We have Healing Grenade. Think about this as the old overcharged Warlock Healing Grenade, a grenade that cures allies on impact and creates an orb of benevolent solar light, granting restorations to allies when picked up. Here in Solar 3.0, we have 3 different aspects. Our first aspect is knock them down. This is brought over from original Gunslinger 2.0 and has been changed slightly. Your solar supers are enhanced. Deadshot Golden Gun, which is the 6 shot, has increased duration. Marksman's Golden Gun, which is the one that does percentage damage, has increased damage resistance and duration. Blade Barrage launches more projectiles. This actually really helps with the damage of Blade Barrage. It actually becomes a very good super. While Radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife, does not matter which one, fully refund your melee energy. It doesn't matter which one, as long as you are Radiant, you can spam your melee. We also have On Your Mark. Precision final blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon, handling, and reload speed for a short duration. Stacks up to 3 times. Activating your class ability immediately grants maximum stacks of On Your Mark. Our last one is Gunpowder Gamble. Defeat targets with abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons to charge up an improved solar explosive. Press your grenade button to throw a solar explosive that can be shot in midair to cause an ignition. I will say this very clearly, this is not hard to hit. I've tried it out a little bit and it's very easy to just shoot out of the sky. And lastly, we have Fragments. For our Fragments, I'm only going to cover this once because Fragments being non-class specific, I only need to cover them once. That way you know what every single one does, especially when I had to Titan and to Warlock. So for here in the Hunter one, I'm going to cover all of the Fragment, and later videos I'll make sure to refer back to this video so you can come see what each Fragment does. That way I don't have to cover it every single time I cover a Solar 3.0 build. So we have Ember of Solace. Radiant and Restoration effects applied to you have an increased duration. We have Ember of Combustion. Final blows with your super cause targets to ignite, aka they explode. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy. This is Ember of Searing. Ember of Searing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. Ember of Ashes. You apply more scorch stacks to targets. Ember of Benevolence. Applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short duration. Think of this as a slightly nerfed version of Benevolent Dawn. Ember of Beams. Your solar projectiles have stronger target acquisition. Ember of Empyrean. We don't currently have this one. My assumption is that we will be able to get this one shortly after the dungeon goes live. Solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. This one here on Hunter is going to be huge, though we currently don't have it. Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Think of this as old empowering melee, basically. Ember of Tempering. Solar weapon final blows grant you and your allies increased recovery for a short duration, stacks 3 times. While Ember of Tempering is active, your weapons have increased airborne effectiveness. Ember of Char. Your solar ignition spreads scorch to affected nearby targets. Ember of Blistering. Defeating targets with solar ignition grants grenade energy. Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect. Ember of Wander. Rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignition creates an orb of power. And we've already covered that one. That is it for your solar fragments. Alright, now that the main portion of covering the entire class as a whole is done, let's hop into a Solar 3.0 build, why don't we? This is ridiculous. Yeah, Solar 3.0 is no joke, especially here on Hunter. I went and played some Void for my video for Thursday, and I literally wanted to just come back to Solar the whole time. The way this build and the way this class works is just amazing. It's fun. Your weapons feel amazing the whole time. If you want to just throw melees over and over again, you can. You feel like a gunslinger, and it feels fantastic. It feels like they've mastered the identity of what each one of these classes should be. They understand the fantasies these classes are trying to play into, and they've gotten them. Night Stalker was correct. Whether I like Night Stalker or not is a personal problem, but they got Night Stalker correct. They got Sentinel correct. They got Voidwalker correct. They've gotten Sunbreaker correct. Sunbreaker feels great. Dawnblade feels like it should. Not that it feels great, but it feels like it should. And Gunslinger feels amazing because it feels exactly how it should. With that being said, let's hop into the build for today. So, for the build, we're going to go to the class. We're going to be on Acrobatics, Dodge. We're going to be on Knife Trick. I prefer Knife Trick over the other melees. It may not be the best melee choice, but it's the one I feel the most comfortable with hitting most of the time. We're going to be on Thermite Grenades. I like Thermite Grenades the most. I was playing around with Solars for a little bit. They feel kind of meh, if I'm being completely honest. But they may not be the worst option, all things considered. I know a lot of people are running healing grenades. I don't get why you would sacrifice your grenade to heal you. Especially in like regular content. Maybe when we get like under light, maybe once we start getting the Fragment here, Ember of Empyrean, where we can just like have restoration up at all times. We'll see. It all depends on how strong restoration actually is once we're under light. For our aspects, we're going to be running Knock 'em Down, and we're going to be running On Your Mark. These two work really well hand in hand. So with Knock 'em Down, the biggest part here that we care about is the Blade Barrage launches more projectiles. This makes Blade Barrage actually really strong and makes Blade Barrage a viable super in most content. And then also we care about the second part here is while Radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee. And we're going to use this on top of Acrobat's Dodge and a couple of fragments here to make sure that we can basically just chuck melees. And then if we can't chuck melees, we're going to have On Your Mark ready. And because we're getting precision final blows with our knife or with our gun, we're going to have On Your Mark ×3 because we're going to have reset On Your Mark with our class ability, which when you activate your class ability with On Your Mark, you are granted 3 stacks of On Your Mark immediately. For our fragments, we're going to be running Ember of Solace. Radiant restoration effects applied to you have an increased duration. This is going to allow Radiance to last 15 seconds at max stacks, at max duration, which is forever. You can get 2 full Lament combos off and still swing a couple more times before Radiant goes away. We have Ember of Combustion. This is going to allow our super just to explode. It's going to allow our super to become more of an Nuclear super if we want it to be a Nuclear super. It's going to allow our super to be a damage super or Nuclear super. It's going to allow our super to be versatile and usable in many different situations. We have Ember of Searing. This is just going to allow us any scorched targets we do defeat. It's just going to give us some melee energy back. The easiest way to describe this is you're going to throw your grenade and you're just going to be granted melee energy. Also, another huge reason to run this is you can get 10 recovery from it, and it actually allows you to build into having multiple 100 stats. We're going to be running Ember of Sneering as well. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. This is one of the bread and butter fragments of this class. I don't ever see me taking this off, especially with Knife Trick and all the grenades that do scorch damage. I would probably never take this off. And then also we have Ember of Ashes, which allows you to apply more scorch attacks, getting targets closer to ignition. There's a couple of fragments here that we don't have yet that I'm thinking about changing out in the future. That being Ember of Combustion and Ember of Sneering or Ashes. I might take off Ashes and Combustion so that way I can run Ember of Charge. Though you may not actually get the actual benefit of this fragment being able to run triple 100s, A, looks really nice, and B, the significant decrease in cooldown to your grenade is pretty nice. For instance, my grenade currently is a 48 second cooldown. If I go to tier 10, we're at a 40 second cooldown. This is a significant decrease in cooldown time and is definitely worth it in my opinion. Though the biggest one for me, and why I would take off Ember of Ashes for it, or take off Ember of Combustion, because Ember of Combustion is probably the worst one here, is Ember of Empyrean. Having your weapon, because you should be running a solar weapon now with these classes, or just abilities, and just be able to run Radiant like all the time and just be Radiant all the time. Yeah, I get it would put my resilience down to literally nothing, but okay, it's worth it to literally just have 20% extra damage at all times. Next up, we're going to head into the armor. The armor here is overall pretty good with a couple things that could be changed. First step is the helmet. The biggest change here to the helmet that I would make is I would actually make the helmet arc. I sadly can't make the helmet arc because I don't have another helmet to run with my other builds that need this helmet to be on solar. But I actually would switch this helmet to arc for the melee perk that lets you get super energy off melee kills. This would be incredibly strong with this build because you're going to be throwing your melee way more than you're throwing your grenade. And so I would definitely be running it instead of Ashes to Assets. However, we're going to be running Unbountiful Wells and a Harmonic Siphon to allow our primary to generate orbs of power, and when we do spawn Elemental Wells, to spawn more of them. On to the gloves. The gloves are pretty simple, just a grenade kickstart here on Stasis and an Elemental Ordnance. So that way any grenade kills we do get, they're going to spawn a Solar Elemental Wells for us to pick up and recharge all of our abilities with. On to our exotic. Our exotic today is 6 Coyote. I think this is probably the strongest one for Solar Hunters. I haven't played around with all the exotics yet. This was the first exotic I thought of based off looking at the class, and this is definitely feels like the strongest exotic so far. You basically can keep yourself radiant permanently, which is huge and really allows you to just take advantage of the extra 20% damage buff you get from being radiant. Here on our 6 Coyote is going to be an arc. 2 reasons for this is Powerful Friends, and then the second, our other reason, is for Armor of Dying Star. This is going to give you solar and void resistance, and so with the chest piece being on arc, you're going to have all 3 resists. Much like last season, be ready to see most of my chest pieces be on arc throughout the season to take advantage of having all 3 resists in the middle here at all times. Powerful Friends' main thing here is the extra 20 mobility to help me get to 100 mobility. If you're going to be on Acrobat's dodge, if you're going to be on the Acrobatic dodge, don't run anything less than 100 mobility. If you have to sacrifice recovery or discipline to do so, do so. Mobility is the most important stat here because it's on such a long cooldown. On to the boots. The boots are on solar. Real simple here why they're solar. There's recuperation. Recuperation's too good not to be ran. And then a melee well maker to create solar elemental wells when we get melee kills, which we'll be getting a lot of. Lastly, onto the cloak. The cloak doesn't matter this season at all. Doesn't matter what color you have it, what flavor you have it. I have Molten Overload, which I think is currently bugged because I'm not seeing it stun Overload champions, at least in the public event area for like the seasonal activity. I hope it's not bugged. That would make me want to cry. But it currently doesn't feel like it's disrupting champions. But we do have a melee well maker on, so that way every time we get a melee kill, we get 3 solar elemental wells, which is really strong. If it is bugged, obviously I would take it off and run a utility kickstart for right now. But when it's not bugged, I highly recommend running Molten Overload for the season. That is all for the build. The biggest things that I can recommend is get a solar primary If you can get solar primary that can roll demo in the first column and then swashbuckler in the second column, that would be the best option, because then you'll be able to get swashbuckler because you're going to be throwing your melee all the time, and then demo will help give you your grenade back, and your grenades in solar are pretty strong. This is just the best solar primary I have, so it's the one I'm running. That's really it for the build. Let's get this video wrapped up. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for the video today. I hope that this was a good introduction to Gunslinger 3.0. I hope that it taught you something new about Gunslinger 3.0 that you probably didn't already know. And I hope that this build gets you started on the way to becoming a Gunslinger main. I foresee myself actually playing this class all the time throughout the next season, maybe even the season after. Long term, I probably see myself playing this in 95% of content, and then switching over to Renewal Grasp, Stasis Hunter when the game gets hard. Those are my by far 2 favorite builds in the game right now, and I really wouldn't rather run much else when it comes to the game as a whole. Alright, that's going to be it for the video today. I hope this video taught you something that you didn't know, and hopefully this video was helpful to you. If it was helpful to you, please consider leaving a like on this video and subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. Thank you everyone, see you in the next one, and goodbye!